everybody. Welcome to episode 38 of the Canberra Football Show. My name is Matt Nicoletti. A few illnesses today, so thank you very much for joining us at a moment's notice, Paul Townsley.
Hi, everybody. I'm back again, which is always quite remarkable considering my previous performances, but it's always welcome to come and say hi.
Awesome. So let's just get straight into it after that fantastic introduction. Let's start with the first matchup of the weekend in NPL1, of course. Gungahlin United 2-0 over West Canberra Wanderers. Misko Naumoski and Brindabella Madrid with the goals in the 15th and 50th minutes, respectively. Huge win for Gungahlin as this breaks them away in third place by 3 points with one match in hand as well, which is huge for them. And this also means that in their one match in hand against the Tigers, if they do win, that means they're only going to be 1 point off Canberra, Croatia, who are currently in second place. So it's all to play for at the moment. For Gungahlin United, and Brindabella Madrid's goal means he's still top scorer now, 11 goals in the NPL1. Disappointing loss, though, for West Canberra Wanderers. Another loss at home on the synthetic as well, which is sort of leads to their unfavourable form on the synthetic over at Melrose, like we've mentioned before on the show. But this loss also knocks them out of the top four. And interestingly enough, this is the first time that they haven't been in the top four since the conclusion of round one, which is actually a bit of an interesting stat there. What are your thoughts on this one, Paul?
Well, I think Gungahlin have been, they had a slow start, to be fair. And there was a lot of new players. Marcel's like a top quality coach, and he's blended this group of players. They play really, really good football. I've actually been lucky enough to actually watch one or two of their games, obviously, because we've been in NPL2. They played, the first NPL1 play on a Sunday, so I've actually managed to watch one or two games. And, I think he's got them playing really, really good football. They counter very quickly. They've got a lot of good talent. And they've looked threatening. Since probably that sort of 6th, 7th game, they've actually looked quite threatening against everybody. So it actually doesn't surprise me that they're sort of getting up there. Philippe, he's just a quality striker, isn't he? So, what can you say? Top of the table again.
What do you think in terms of West Canberra Wanderers, though? Like this, like I said, first time they haven't been in the top four since after round one. I think it's 2 or 3 losses in a row now for them as well. So what do you think they can do to sort of stop the downward spiral?
I think they went for at the start of the season. I think early had them sort of ticking quite well, and especially into that sort of middle phase. But I think other teams have sort of come into form. Some of the big guns have sort of started to tick a little bit and started to fire around them. I think Uli's been struggling a little bit with 1 or 2 injuries, which has hampered his selection. So I think that, I think when he gets his players back and they're settled again, I think, West Canberra have always been competitive. But again, I think coming up against the big guns, I think come the end of the season, I think, the stronger teams with the stronger squads are starting to show a little bit now.
Yeah, and there's not long left to go. That means there's a massive, going to be a massive race for that sort of fourth and for that sort of top four between 7th place and looks like 2nd place now if Tigers end up breaking away, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. Next up, we've got Canberra Olympic against Monaro Panthers, 3-2 Heggie. Crawford with the goals for Olympic, Dominici, Woods, and Ulrich with a dramatic 96th-minute winner. You saw that one on Facebook.
Yeah.
Big win for Monaro, of course. This catapults them above Olympic with that dramatic last-minute winner for Ulrich. This win also leaves them only 2 points off the top four, which is huge for them. Olympic will be shattered with the loss in the last seconds. Anyone is in that moment in time. But the loss does put them down to 7th, but they're only a win off the top four. So they're still in it with a shout. And let's not forget they're only 2 weeks off that, 2 weeks away prior to that, great 5-1 victory over Canberra, Croatia. And they didn't play last week either, so maybe that sort of hampered their momentum a little bit. But that's what happens with the wet weather. What did you think about this one, Paul?
I think it was actually a really, really tight game, to be fair. Aigi looked sharp throughout, and he was a massive threat throughout the game. I actually watched quite a bit of this game on Bar TV. So I think the late goal, like from any coaching position, is so painful, like so painful. But I actually think that overall, over the 90, probably Monaro probably edged it. Possession-wise, quality possession, I think that Olympic looked pretty good on the break. And they're quite a young team. They're quite a young team. And for quite a young team to be where they are at the moment within striking distance of the four, I think Robbie's doing a fantastic job. And I think that they've demonstrated that in some of their performances. So I think, Olympic are very, very healthy. I think there's probably more expectations on Monaro and Frank after what was a really, really sort of difficult start. I don't think he'll mind me saying that. It was quite a difficult and challenging start for Monaro. But again, they're starting to pick points up. And it's quite tight. That sort of third and fourth slot is really tight at the minute.
Yeah, it certainly looks interesting. And Katnak said in his interview with me that with a young squad, you're bound to get just a little inconsistency, but it's safe to say that inconsistency wasn't an issue today. It was just two very, very even teams. And like you mentioned, it just came down to the wire, and on those rainy days on synthetic stuff like that can happen. Before we move on, I just wanted to ask about Monaro. What you mentioned, how they sort of had a slow start. They're coming to the fore now. Did you think, and they have lost a few players as well in that process, did you think in terms of, for Frankie, it was just about getting that that cohesiveness together? Because a lot of these players, I know they've some of the players they have relied on have been there for a while, but a lot of these players, just came in this season.
Yeah, I think that any team that's going to compete has to have sort of a team cohesiveness and a good attitude. And I think that, I think one or two of the younger players that have come into the Monaro team have really, really stood up. I think Sam Rossbacken's actually been one of their standout players.
Yeah, he's been so key in terms, like those first few matches, especially where he was playing fullback, but they didn't have anyone to do that sort of all the defensive work and the defensive running. And then by the third or fourth match, once they put him in, you could see a massive difference. He's been huge in them.
And he brings energy, and he's what I saw the other day, he's all over the place. And I think with Tom sort of trying to dictate play a little bit behind him, I think that they've got quality, along with one or two of the other teams in there. And I think that, if the atmosphere is right and the players are gelling, I think, it makes such a difference.
And next up, we have Belconnen United 2, Tuggeranong United 0, Crescus and Adrian McCall with the goals. Belconnen United have won again, so this makes it 2 wins in a row for them. The reason why I mentioned that is, of course, because last week, that was their first victory since round 5 when they beat Canberra, Croatia. So this might be the catapult for them moving forward in terms of their form. But this was also the catapult for them because this win takes them into the top 4 for the first time since round 10 as well. So that's also important for them. Another tough day at the office for Tuggies, though. Another tough loss, which now puts them 11 points at the bottom of the NPL1 ladder. Everyone already said it was going to be tough for them now, Paul, but 11 points with 7 matches or something remaining, including the catch-up. If you were a coach in this position, how would you sort of deal with it? Because they would need unfortunately for them, they would need like a perfect end to the season with not just that, they would need others falling as well. Yeah.
I mean, what I've seen of Tuggeranong, and again, I'm a Southsider, so I've probably caught one or two of their games, is that they've actually competed.
Yeah, they have. That's
every game they've played.
That's what's interesting. Yeah,
and normally in these situations, a team's sort of left behind and a long way behind. But actually, Tuggeranong, in a points basis, they're actually quite a way behind. In a competitive situation, they're actually not that far off. And, they've probably lacked that goal scorer. They've created opportunities. Throughout the season, they've created opportunities. And it's a really difficult situation for Mitch and the guys at the moment. They've just got to keep working hard, keep doing what they do. If they pick up a couple of wins, suddenly that momentum can actually shift very, very quickly. So, and we know that they're actually competitive. So, good luck to them, and hopefully they'll compete moving forward.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I guess just the issue, you've definitely nailed on the head in terms of their competitiveness. Of course, we go back to those 6 draws in a row before that, and then the majority of their losses, bar the one to West Canberra and Canberra Croatia, were only by like 1 goal. But I guess I mentioned the issue for them is they need a sort of a perfect run, even if they do get a few wins together, is the fact that that they would need others to lose. And at the moment, it just seems like Canberra, Croatia. So it seems like Olympic are in good form, Gungahlin are in good form, Belco started to get a few wins together as well. So it just seems like momentum isn't exactly shifting their way. So best of luck to them. In terms of Belconnen United, though, what do you make of them this season? They started very, very strong. But like I mentioned, they've only gotten 2 wins now, and they didn't get a win before that since round 5. Sort of that mix between the youth and experience there at Belconnen United. What do you make of Fab Michelli's team from what you've seen or heard this season?
Well, I think that they, as you say, they started pretty well. But again, similar to sort of Woden, I think that, Belconnen were actually quite a new group of players to a certain extent. It actually blended the younger players into, along with 1 or 2 of the more experienced players. So for some of these guys, it's actually their first exposure. So again, that sort of inconsistency sort of to be expected a little bit. But the chances they took the other day, they took the chances really well. So if they're gonna, if they keep taking the chances like they did at the start of the season, they're going to be competitive. But I think they've sort of got that start and then drifted off a little bit like sort of Woden have, and while 1 or 2 others are sort of picking up that little bit of momentum in the middle part. So, but they're in it.
Yeah, and that was something you sort of said it there. That was something they were struggling for. I think it was around the time where they drew with Tuggeranong, where they were creating a lot of chances, but they weren't able to finish it. So now it seems like they're starting to become a little more efficient in front of goals again. All right, next up we have the big match in Canberra on the weekend, 2-0 to Tigers FC over Canberra Croatia. Gillespie with both the goals. Huge win for the Tigers. Not only is this huge because this is the first time that Tigers have beat Canberra Croatia in, I think, a few competitive fixtures, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's what Russ told me. But in saying that, though, now they are on top of the league. And not only are they on top of the league, Paul, they have 2 matches in hand. That is absolutely crucial for them. If they can win those 2 matches in hand, then they wouldn't have too much left. They would be, you would think, favourites for the league, as in the minor premiership, for those of you who are wondering in what specific instance I'm talking about. So Ryan Grogan's Ryan Grogan's team have the fate completely in their hands. Better performance today, though, on Sunday, though, from Canberra Croatia compared to those previous 2 meetings. Don't forget they're coming off 2 5-1 losses back-to-back against Gungahlin and Canberra Croatia. So defensively, a lot more solid. They stopped those quick breaks coming through. Of course, they were always good going forward in that regard. They weren't able to score one, though, but let's not forget Tigers. Defensively is probably one thing they're underrated for, I would say, this season. Obviously, they started the season a bit shaky, but once they got into gear, they haven't conceded too many. I'll have to bring that up for the next show. But in terms of Canberra Croatia, that means it's 3 losses in a row now, which is sort of unfamiliar territory for them, with considering the last their successful last few seasons. A lot to unpack here, Paul. What did you make of it?
Well, I think, I watched some of the game. Canberra, Croatia actually, again, had quite a lot of possession. They controlled the game for big parts, but again...
They have the last couple, haven't they?
Yeah, and, Tigers, the speed at which Tigers actually move through transition into sort of attack and the speed that they actually move the ball, probably them and Gungahlin, who play very, very fast transitional sort of football, was probably the difference. I think that, you can't... We've been in situations like this before, haven't we, where one team we think one team's actually we say it's in their hands to lose, but then Canberra, Croatia, or in the past sort of Belconnen have actually reeled them in before the end of the season. But I certainly wouldn't... they'll have a big say over the next few weeks. I'm pretty sure of that. But yeah, Tigers are in pole position.
Yeah, and as a coach, what would you be saying to the boys in this moment in time? You've got fate in your hands, 2 matches left to play in terms of catch-ups, and then you could be possibly looking at 8 points ahead of a Canberra Croatia team who, when they can get clicking again, they're going to be they're going to be one of your main rivals come finals time. Yeah,
I think that Ryan's just got to keep them grounded. I think massively. I think that's the thing probably for that's probably the hardest thing is actually keeping them grounded and keeping doing what they do well. And if they execute how they've been executed, then you can't look past them. But again, pressure's a strange thing. Pressure's a very strange thing, and expectation then becomes a very strange thing. So
yeah, and that actually sort of leads me to, and not only that, they're also going to be facing a team that's just in form as them in terms of Gungahlin United. So it's going to be interesting, actually, in that regard, which we'll get onto right now. Actually, let's get straight into those previews for next week. Let's start with Belconnen United and Canberra Olympics, Saturday, 31st of July, 3 p.m. from McKellar Park. This should be a very interesting one. Of course, Belco just got back in the top 4. Olympic coming off a loss, but it was a very, very narrow one in the dying seconds of the match. I'm actually going to say an Olympic victory here. I think just the way they're going to set up against Belconnen United with their pace, with everything they can do, with considering how efficient they've been. I was about to say a draw, but I think I'm going to go with an Olympic one. Michael says a Belco one. How about you, Paul?
I'm probably going to go with Olympic as well. I think like what I saw the other day from the two teams, I think the speed and strength of Olympic, and bear in mind as well, they know the way to the net. If they get those opportunities, I think they'll probably just outgun Belconnen. I think Belconnen may sort of sit back and look at the break and sort of try and manipulate possession a little bit. But Olympic have got goals in them, and we've seen that over the last few weeks. Even losing 3-2, they had goals in them, and probably had another couple of chances where they'd say they were probably hard done by. So yeah, I'll probably edge with an Olympic victory.
And next up, we have Monaro Panthers, West Canberra Wanderers, Saturday, July 31st, 5:30 p.m. from Riverside Stadium over in Queanbeyan. Look, I'm probably going to go with the Monaro Panthers victory here. It'll be very close, I think, closer than what people think. It just doesn't seem like momentum's on West Canberra's side, and Monaro finally seem like they're going to build that momentum. And not only with the momentum, you can see with that last-minute goal, they're sort of finding the ways to win, which they weren't able to do at the start of the season. They weren't able to sort of pull it out in the moments that they weren't leading by a certain amount. So I'm going to go for the Monaro one here. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I quite fancy Monaro this weekend. And I think for similar reasons. I think just the momentum, and I think when teams find a way to win, they get that impetus. And I think that, Uli's got to sort of turn around, because one thing that actually Woden aren't doing at the moment is scoring. You know, and I think, you know, Monaro's probably, you know, found the back of the net quite well this last weekend. They'll be on a high because of a last-minute winner. They'll have trained well this week. So, yeah, I think probably Monaro will edge that one.
And the next one is an interesting one. Gungahlin United against Tigers FC, Sunday, August 1st, 3 p.m. at AS Grassfield 2. I think this is the one that's going to be on Bar TV Sport, commentated by Russ and Steve Forshaw. Very interesting one here. I'm going to go with people might consider it an upset, but I'm going to go with the draw here. I know the Tigers are in very good form, but so are Gungahlin as well. They've found a way to win. They've been very efficient in front of goals. Their match against Canberra, Croatia was very, very impressive with what they did on the break. For me, it's going to be interesting to see who takes possession in this one, because Gungahlin have found, even though Gungahlin naturally keep the ball maybe more than Tigers, but they've proved that they can play both sides of the ball in that regard. So, but history would say that Gungahlin would take control of the ball. But I'm going to go for a draw in this one, and I think there might be a couple of goals in it as well, despite how well they've been defensively, especially Gungahlin. I forgot to mention how much they've improved defensively. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think I said this one's a really, as you said, I think this one's a really difficult one to pick because both teams, although, as you say, Gungahlin sort of have probably a team that historically have been more comfortable in possession. I think that both teams have actually played quite similar styles. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see who actually takes responsibility for looking after the ball. If neither team decide to do that, it could actually be quite a high-scoring game. And I would expect, I reckon it could go either way, and it could be probably a 4-3er.
Next up, last up, actually, we've got Canberra, Croatia against Tuggeranong United, Sunday, August 1st, 3 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. We mentioned it before. This is probably a must-win again for Tuggeranong United. We've said that for the last couple of weeks, but it's really getting to that crunch time as well. And to be fair to them, considering the momentum hasn't exactly been going Canberra, Croatia's way, maybe this is the best time for Tuggeranong United to face Canberra, Croatia. In saying that, though, Canberra, Croatia do have the upper hand against Tuggies at home anyway. I know away from home, Croatia actually haven't been able to get too many wins against Tuggies, but Croatia are at home, and I think they'll break their 3-match duck. But in saying that, though, like I said, they're not in the best of form, so maybe this is the best time for Tuggies to play Canberra, Croatia. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think if Canberra, Croatia get the early goal, I think Tuggeranong will be in trouble. I think Tuggeranong set up, they'll be physical. I think it'll be very, very combative. I think Canberra Deakin obviously have the quality all over the field. I think, but certainly Tuggeranong won't roll over. I think the vulnerability for Tuggeranong is that they haven't been scoring many. So they can't let Canberra, Croatia get away from them early. If they do, I think Canberra, Croatia will punish them.
Hello, everybody. Back with our NPLW segment. Jérémy Magan joining us. Jérémy, how have you been, mate? I appreciate it considering you're a little bit sick, but like we said off air, it seems like you're sick all the time now.
I know, right? It's okay. It's a Canberra thing when the winter comes. Every time everyone is under the weather. Michael is sick today, right? So hopefully you'll get better, Michael. I'm okay. Just the voice just sounds a little bit sexier, I will say. But yeah, good to see you. It's only been 24 hours since we were together last, mate.
I'll tell you what, a whole day of work, and it feels like it's been longer than 24 hours. I'll tell you that.
I was off, so to me it's like it was just this morning.
It's like 12 hours to you. All right, let's get straight into it, shall we? NPLW. Let's start with the only Saturday match, Jérémy. Belconnen United 12-0 against Wagga City Wanderers. Bomford with 2 goals. Backhouse with a hat-trick. Price with a goal. Ewan with a hat-trick. Carnegie with a goal. Ryan with a goal. And McGlashan with a goal. Huge win for Belconnen United, not just in terms of the scoreline. However, it's important for them as they do now stand above Canberra, Croatia on goal difference. So The reigning champions, of course, do have a match in hand, though. Michaela Thornton was out due to the suspension of cumulative yellow cards for this one. So Leah Carnegie got the captain's armband for the first time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in this one. And she also capped off a goal. Riley Ewan was the star of the show, scoring a hat-trick, creating a lot of opportunities and havoc down that left wing, especially in the first half. I'm not sure what her assist numbers would be, but they got to be decent from what I saw from that first half. Tough day once again at the office for Wagga, especially with the the late time changes for games. That never helps. It never helps with player availability as well in that regard. And like we've mentioned quite a few times, Jeremy, unfortunately, Wagga City Wanderers just don't match up well against Belconnen United. It just seems to be that team that always gets the better of them in, unfortunately, not in flattering terms in terms of the scoreline.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it's hard for Wagga to travel to Canberra in general times. It's even harder on a Saturday, even harder when it's Saturday at 5 p.m. instead of being the usual 3 o'clock. From what I understand, they couldn't even side a reserve team in the game before. So it was a mix of their reserve and their first team player playing against Belconnen. And I guess it sort of shows those girls who don't play always together. When you start playing against a team that's as good and as reckless as Belconnen, you pay it straight away. And Belconnen, played it well, didn't wait for anything, just went all out, all guns blazing, attacking from the get-go, and made sure that they were going to look after that goal difference that might be such an important factor at the end. Like you say, Riley Ewan, great. Talia Backhouse. I mean, not a lot of players can be proud of scoring a hat trick in 14 minutes. So a lot of positive for Michael Zakowski and his team. I think it was tactic wise for set pieces, it was funny for me to see their lineup in corner kick. It's something that, and I told Michael, it's something that a team in French football in Ligue 1 was doing about 15 years ago, and we are calling that the caterpillar, when you got the 5 players lining up just on the edge of the box before the corner kick is shot, and then they all come everywhere. And that's what I saw all weekend Michael and these girls doing, which is always good to see. You gotta have weapon on every single situation, and having proper set pieces tactic would always help. And mind you, I think they scored 5 on corner kick this weekend, so it works well for them. As far as Wagga, I think the same usual standard, right? Sammy Hems, she conceded 12, but she probably saved another 10.
Yeah, 100%.
Because she is how good as she is, and it must be heartbroken, for those girls to travel and concede that much and have to go home. But I'm sure that Sam Gray is, working on their development, and that he'll have the words that matter. They don't go to Belconnen to necessarily get the point. They go to Belconnen to get that experience, to see how those teams are playing, and to grow themselves. Obviously, all the positive are on the Blue Devil side for this weekend, because they are forcing now Canberra, Croatia to not being able to make any mistakes, because with the goal difference they are back up. And if Canberra, Croatia, makes a mistake, of course the Blue Devils are going to be here to pick it up.
And we mentioned the Belconnen United and how they usually get the better of Wagga City Wanderers in these sorts of matches. But Michaela Thornton wasn't playing, and this is something. It's probably something I should ask Matty, actually, because he's the one that always talks about. He says when it comes to some of the big matches and Michaela Thornton is like marked out of the game or something, who's going to step up? Now, I know, with all due respect to Wagga, this wasn't one of those matches, but Michaela Thornton usually always a presence there. She wasn't there today due to the suspension. So do you think they sort of showed what they can do when Michaela Thornton isn't around?
Yeah, look, we said that last year, and we're saying the same thing this year. It is a young team. It's a team that's rebuilding. Michaela has been here for a while. Sammy Price has been here for a while. But then there's a lot of players around there that haven't been in the Belconnen system for that long, and so they have to learn how to play together. We've seen Sam Price and Sarah Johnston stepping up quite well this weekend in the midfield. A lot of opportunity came through those two. Price has a beautiful assist over in behind the defense for Ewan's second goal, and I think Johnston has a couple of assists and a couple of opportunities as well. So we've seen them two stepping up, like you're saying. You're not playing against Bisset, Hagen, and Berkeley. So if you don't have Michaela Thornton, it's probably better not to have her against the Wagga City Wanderers than it would be against the Canberra Croatia or the Gungahlin of this competition. But yeah, I think they're probably also finding their groove, this Belconnen team, and finding the way to perform well regardless of who's on the pitch. And like we talked about offline, or I guess when we were in Deakin yesterday during the game, they're only a few weeks away from getting Alexia Fournier back and from getting Nicole Jaluka back. So having Fournier and Jaluka is going to be really, really positive for that team. It's going to be a bit of a headache for the Zakoskis because now you have to pick your best 11, but it's only going to be positive. And like we said, it's better to have Mickey Thornton not here this weekend when it might be easier to win than missing out for this coming week, for example.
And next up, we have Gungahlin United, another big victory for them, 8-0 over Tuggeranong United. Jade Brown, Robertson with 2 goals, Atolu with 2 goals, Percival with a goal, Michelle Heyman with a goal, and Ella Brown with a goal. Dominating victory for the Gunners. And most importantly, should help with their confidence. They haven't been in the best of form, and we said if they don't, and Maddie stressed it on the show last week, if they don't get wins soon, what's going to happen? But they're able to get the victory as well. This is huge for their top 4 chances. They're only 3 points off that top 4 now, and CUA are currently in 4th place, so 3 points off CUA. Tough day at the office for Tuggies. They were up against a determined Gunners side, like we mentioned. They need to start getting points if they want to make that top 4. Shout out, though, that a young keeper, Amy, I didn't get her last name, but she made some great saves from all accounts and did really well. So that's great to see that they've got some keeping options because, of course, we've seen Sophie Buey the last couple of games playing goals, and she's done really well. But like we mentioned last week on the show with Maddie, the problem is, if you use Sophie Buey, then that's one of your main attacking outlets in a match, gone. So despite how well she can do in goal. So it's good to see that they have backups for Rolf, and I'm assuming Rolf is still injured as well. Hopefully that's nothing too serious in that regard. What do you think of this one, Jérémy?
Yeah, Amy Wigan is the goalkeeper who stepped up. And she did beautifully. And I think one player that might remember her is none other than Michelle Heyman. I think Michelle had probably 4 or 5 opportunities to score. She probably won't like that we mentioned that, but she just couldn't. She just couldn't put one past Wigan. And it's not like they were bad opportunities there. We know the talent that Heyman has, and we know that she knows how to pick corners. But Amy Wigan just had some pretty fantastic reflexes all along the game, and her ability to go and get the ball in the top corner, in the bottom left, her speed of diving was really impressive. This goalkeeper we've only seen once this season in NPLW. It was already against Gungahlin during round 2 of the games. But yeah, she's definitely making her mark. I mean, Tuggeranong looks like they have a lot of good goalkeepers, so it's very good for a program like they are. The score sheet, is severe, is I think a bit harsh, because when you look at the game, as usual with Tuggeranong, right, there's a very good mentality, there's good fighting spirits. There are some opportunities up front that just don't end up. The last couple of passes just aren't executing the perfect way, but we know what they can do. We also know what Gungahlin can do in a good days, and they were definitely in a good day this weekend. The passing play was smooth. We've seen a lot of ball going through DeMarco, going through Aitolu, going through Heyman. Jay Brand scored straight away, which is good for her confidence, but it's also a player that, as you know, will soon enough be out of that program, since she's and congratulations to her, since she's going to the United States, as long as Bridget Sender. So it's, as well as Bridget Sender, sorry. So it's important for them to score those goals, because we keep saying that they needed Michelle Heyman before she was here, because they were a little bit sort of shorter player, and now they're going to lose another 2 starters in their lineup. They have to get the points where they can get the points. They're going to have a tough week, playing twice this week. So it's definitely going to be good for their confidence that they were able to score 8 goals, and that they were able to just keep attacking, and to keep the best of the possession against a team, as we say always, that is not very easy to maneuver. Tuggeranong, very dense defense. No, even the best team of the competition didn't necessarily always score eight goals against Tuggeranong. So all credits to Diego Iglesias and his girls.
Yeah, no, and and the reason why we mentioned the confidence is because they are playing Canberra, Croatia this weekend, like you mentioned. So maybe the fixture list and avoiding Croatia before they got a victory, maybe it might help them heading in. It might help their chances. That we'll preview that a little bit later. But let's go to a match that always seems to be a very close one, isn't it? Between West Canberra Wanderers and Canberra Olympic. 2-1 to Canberra Olympic on the day. Ashley Sykes with 2 goals. Sofia Chavera with the goal for West Canberra Wanderers. Very important win for Olympic, as this puts them in third place. The podium place, as you called it, Jeremy, on commentary yesterday, leapfrogging CUA in that process by 1 point. Ash Sykes' 2 goals also make some ground on Brittany Palombi. That means she's only trailing by 2 now. So that means Ashley Sykes has 18 goals. The pick of the bunch for me was the second Ashley Sykes goal, where Heather Garrett put a beautiful ball over the top, and in classic Ashley Sykes fashion, gets on the end of the ball, runs it around the keeper, puts it in the back of the net. So vintage Ashley Sykes there. And Nicole Begg's side also played a back 4 on the weekend. So it seems like they've reverted to a back 4 for the time being. In terms of West Canberra Wanderers, though, they found themselves trailing early. It's always hard to combat and come back when you've conceded earlier like that, especially in quick succession. Add that to the fact that West Canberra have not been able to defeat Olympic this season. I believe that's 3 straight defeats now to Canberra Olympic that they've had. But they did get the goal back, like I mentioned. And from what I've been told, it was a bit of a scrappy second half, as probably that West Canberra goal can attest for. What did you think of this one, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think you're nipping in a bit. I think West Canberra, for some reason, has found the team that they're struggling to beat in Olympic. And, we know how West Canberra likes to play these days, at least. They're playing a little bit more defensive, a little bit more dense in the middle of the park, leaving space on the wings, and they're trying to play in counter-attack using the speed of Sofia Chavera or the size of Sarah Whitfield. This weekend, when you going to concede twice in 20 minutes, it's always going to be a little bit hard. I think, every time you play against Ash Sykes, as we keep saying it, it's a hard player to maneuver. They're playing quite low defensively, so you would think that they've done the job to make sure that Ash Sykes doesn't have the room to be able to go there, but then she scores on a corner kick, and then that second goal, that pass from Heather Garriok is just, obviously shows the talent that Heather Garriok has and what she can do with that left foot. Ash Sykes, it's now 18 goals, and all 18 of them are inside the box. I would almost go as far as saying that all 18 of them are very close to the 6-yard box. But yeah, she is definitely that kind of goal scorer, and she has that talent that she can put it in the back of the net when she's in that zone, which is great to have for Nicole Begg, I'm sure. As far as the Team Olympic sided, it's great to see Ella Hemmings back into the starting lineup in that back 4. I think it's probably one of the reasons why they can go back to back 4, because what they didn't have without Hemmings is the pace, and Ella is definitely quite fast, and it's great to see Courtney Hals coming up in the midfield thanks to that, because she can bring a little bit more physicality, and she's got a great right foot, and she's very good at picking passes. The corner kick is hers on that first goal as well. So it's a team that is progressing well. For West Canberra, yeah, I think it's a bit of lack of luck at the beginning. It's a bit of lack of focus on that second goal from Ash Sykes, but it's not to say that Olympic doesn't deserve their victory, because in the first half, West Canberra barely gets close to Aurelia Haynes, and in the second half, that goal is she needed to do a lot to be able to score that goal. Sofia Chavera, she was in the middle of 6 players, and she fought for the ball, and she was fortunate to sort of put it in, but also, I guess, took advantage of the passivity of the Olympic defense. But besides that, it was really hard for the Wanderers to actually achieve to bring the ball properly towards the other zone. It was a little bit scrappy. They have a little bit of work to do, I think, to be able to hold on that 4th place, to me, out of the 40 teams that are playing over there, West Canberra is the team that is getting the point the scrappiest way, I guess. They really have to put up the big fight every time to be able to get a point or 3 points. And I think towards the end of the season, that might be costly for them.
And in terms of Canberra Olympic, do you think they can sort of push and solidify themselves in the top 4 now?
I think, the comeback of Heather Garriock is just so important for them. Yeah, of course, it settles in the midfield, it calms everyone down. She obviously has a wealth of experience. She knows how to play the player during the game. Her only presence really organizes the team around her well. And you got young players like Tiana Miro or Anna Van den Broek, who are younger than Heather and who can just learn from her and get better for it. This weekend, they play without Rachel Hardwick. So when you have Hardwick back into good form and you have Garriock and you have Sykes in front and Miro is on top of her form, that's a lot of talent and that's a lot of firepower for Olympic. And now they've got their centre back back as well. So, I think it's a team that can definitely do a lot of damage. They can do a lot of damage on set pieces when Ali Cook plays. She wasn't here this weekend either, I think, Ali Cook, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a solid team and they can bring the danger from a lot of different areas. And I think in the games that are going to matter, they are going to be a hard team to get points against. I'm looking forward to see how they manage that third round. They're in the perfect position right now. It's just a matter of keeping it and of keeping getting the good results against the team that has struggled to get results in earlier this season.
Last but not least, we have Canberra United Academy against Canberra Croatia, 4-0 to Canberra Croatia. Grace Gill with 2 goals, Nikias with an own goal, and Krista Hagen with a goal in the 83rd minute as well. Very impressive display from the reigning champions. We said it a few times in comms, Jérémy, that they had something to prove in this game. Of course, Canberra United Academy are the only team that Canberra Croatia have yet to defeat this season. It was a draw and a win for Canberra United Academy in both of those games. So a bit of their bogey team before now. Obviously, they put that to rest today. Grace Gill was the star of the show, 2 goals and essentially forced through the third goal. It was an own goal though, in that regard, but it was from a free kick, if I'm not mistaken, from Grace Gill on that one for the Nikias own goal. And Krista Hagen's goal, by the way, brilliant technique, fantastic finish. CUA, on the other hand, they just weren't able to sort of score early and capitalize. That's what they did well both times against Canberra Croatia, score in the first 10 minutes and even talk about the last time in the first 3 minutes or something it was, and they took advantage and were able to go from there. They weren't able to do the same. And yeah, unfortunately for them, it didn't happen today, but they have some positives to take out of it. For example, in the second half, I thought they, as a collective, defended a lot better. They were a lot quicker to the ball. And I thought they also did a good job of sort of trying to mark out Brittany Palombi from the game. She didn't have the usual game that she usually does. So, and that a lot of that has to go to Eliza J. Norris, who I thought was outstanding. She was CUA's best player on the day, constantly went to win the ball back. Her timing was great. Some of the distribution as well when she started plays down the wing was really good. But if she can keep performances like that, she's got a bright future. I thought she was really, really good. So there are some positives there to take from CUA, and they are still in the top 4 though. In terms of their own top 4 chances at the moment. So, Jérémy, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, solid performance by Nick Bosnich and Grace Gill and all the Canberra Croatia team. I think like you just said, they took the game the way they should take it. They know what happened in the last couple of confrontation, and they had something to prove. They also had something to prove to themselves, and they had to show maybe their coach and themselves that they're able to handle a team that is supposedly younger, faster, and with more endurance. And the way they started the game was just the best way to play against the academy. Whenever we call the academy or we watch them, we see Sofia Christopherson getting a lot of touches. We see Nikita Perry getting a lot of touches. They were almost MIA for the whole game. I don't think Ali Hinton had a save to do for 90 minutes. So, Croatia did what they had to do. We say it every week, but that midfield, Krista Hagen, Jenny Bissett, and Jamie Barclay is very, very strong when you add the work rate of an Olivia Fogarty, who's always defending and who's always trying to come and recover the balls. It's just really hard. Whenever the academy thought they had a bit of space, you had two players running at them. Rhiannon Fensom and Cecilia Matix in the back were just fantastic as usual, always able to cut the ball properly, always anticipating the ball the right way. Cecilia Matic had a few fouls whistled against her that I thought were a little bit harsh, and I'm sure we saw that she felt the same way. But it showed, how strong a stronger team it is. Like the only player that maybe wasn't as good as we've seen, just because we are used to so much from her, was Renee Juna, who was a little bit discreet on that game. And Brittany Palombi, I feel like she's played the way she played almost every game, except that every other game she ends up with the ball in the right position at the right time, and she puts it in the back of net. And this weekend she couldn't, because EJ Norris was always here, and I think Talia Hampson had a pretty good game defensively as well. Steph Nikias, if you take off the own goal, which is unfortunate, also had a solid game. It was just too hard for the academy to get the ball out, and I think at the end of the day they get frustrated. If you can't, they want to play football, they want to build from the back, and if you can't do two passes without being under a crazy amount of pressure against girls that physically are maybe a little bit stronger than you are, it's going to be hard to keep your head up the whole time. We've seen bursts of football coming up from Sasha Grove, from Alice Jensen, who are the leaders of this team in the midfield. But yeah, it was a tough day at the office, I think, for them, and it was a bit of a reminder of how hard it's going to be for CUA to play against a team like Canberra, Croatia. When they beat them, it took an amazing Chloe Lincoln, who was pretty good this weekend as well. It took a few lucky goals from the outside of the box. If they are unable to even reach the box, then how do you score? So I think in that sense, the game plan put on by Nick Bosnich just worked a treat. And it's good to see that those two teams are gearing up nicely for the end of the season.
Yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting finish for both those sides, both competing for their own respective spots in that ladder. There's two very good races in that regard, is there not? Let's get straight into the matches that might once again determine where we are by the end of the season. Let's start with West Canberra Wanderers, Canberra, Croatia, Sunday, August 1st, 12:45 p.m. at Melrose Synthetic. Michael saying Canberra, Croatia for this one. I'm going to agree with them. They just seem like a steam train at the moment, especially after that performance against the CUA, against what was considered their bogey team this season. It's going to be hard to stop Canberra, Croatia, and considering that they weren't able to get forward too much in that first half against Olympic, it's going to be probably even harder for them to do the same against Canberra, Croatia. But they are on the home turf. Let's see if they can make that count. How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll go for a Canberra Croatia game win as well. Although they are going to play twice this week. The Jikin side they're playing Gungahlin midweek, and then they're going to Melrose, and they're not particularly fan of playing on synthetic. So you never know. Things could go wrong, but as far as the team forms and what we've seen on the pitch, it's hard not to pick Canberra, Croatia. I think their power in the midfield is what it is, and maybe they don't love playing on the synthetic, but on the synthetic we'll see even more the technique of the Jenny Bissett, the Brittany Palombi, the Grace Gill. So if the squad is complete and if they're not too tired from Gungahlin, I don't see any other result than a win for the visitors.
And here we've got what is probably going to be the most interesting match of the weekend, in my opinion. It's always very close between these two sides. Canberra Olympic, Gungahlin United, Sunday, August 1st, 2:15 p.m. at O'Connor Enclosed. It's going to be an interesting one. It was a 3-2 win to Olympic last time round. I think Maddie Moore and I did that one. I'm going to go with an Olympic victory. I've been very impressed with them over the last couple of weeks. And in terms of Gungahlin, if the match goes ahead against Canberra, Croatia, if, like most people are predicting, that they aren't able to get a victory against Canberra, Croatia, what does that do for their confidence heading into this one? That'll be the question for me. But in saying that, it's going to be a very tight matchup, and it could be anyone's game. But I think Olympic have the slight edge. They have a lot of the momentum at the moment.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there as well. And this time, I think I'll pick the midweek game as the difference maker. You know, whether they win or lose Gungahlin, they're going to leave a lot of energy on that pitch on Wednesday night. And you know, we know how hard it is for a coach to have two games in the same week. Where do you put your next training? How do you where do you find the time to remobilize your group? And if they win against Canberra, Croatia, the Gunners, which we wish for them. They're going to be in some sort of an euphoria that is hard to come down from. And if they lose, they might be, you know, in a bit of a bad moral situation, which is hard to come back from as well. So yeah, I think, you know, Olympic is having a good moment right now, and the squad is playing well. And I think they have their chance against Gungahlin, because the weakest points of the Gungahlin team this season are exactly where Olympic is strong, and that's going to be a hard one to manage for Diego Iglesias.
And this weekend, I believe it's our Bar TV offering, if I'm not mistaken. Tuggeranong United against Wagga City Wanderers, Sunday, August 1st, 2:30 p.m. at Canberra 201. Interesting kickoff time. Usually Canberra is always 3 o'clock or 3:15.
We'll have the sun for longer.
Sorry?
We'll have the sun for longer.
And I'm not sure if you've been there, but I haven't been on that new
neither
scaffold. So there we go. We'll finally try it out. All right. Oh, and Michael said Olympic for the last one, by the way. I'm going to go with the Tuggies victory. I'm going to go for Tuggies to get their first victory of the season. I think they've shown quite a bit. It's going to be a close match. It's going to be a lot closer, I think, than their last two matches. Tuggeranong have come a long way. We mentioned on the show the last couple of weeks their defensive shape against the sides that aren't the top two or three at the moment. How much they've improved in that regard and going forward as well. It seems like they seem to find their keeper as well when Sophie Rolfe isn't there as well, which means Buey can go up front. Yeah, I'm going to go for Tuggies victory. Michael says a Wagga victory. How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm saying a Wagga victory as well. I mean, it is now or never kind of thing for Tuggeranong, because it's the team that's the closest to them as far as skills and as far as the ladder to start with. And we've seen a lot of improvement. I still think that there's an edge that Wagga has against Tuggeranong, and it's maybe that mobility in the midfield and the ability to score when it matters. You know, Tuggeranong has struggled as far as their clinicality goes. Sorry. So yeah, I see Wagga getting it, but I see a very interesting game, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun calling it, because there's a lot of talent in both of those squads. And you know, the ladder being what it is, we didn't cover a lot of those two teams live, but it's great to see them playing against each other, because it's a good way to see, you know, players like Amy Wigan, player like Zoe Terry on the other side, Kaylee Cameron. There's a lot of solid players that are exciting, and that, you know, unfortunately this season aren't getting the results that their talent deserve to have. Seeing them playing against each other will be a great way to showcase where those two teams are at.
And next up, we got Canberra United Academy against Belconnen United, Sunday, August 1st, 3 p.m. at Hawker Football Centre. And 3 p.m. seems to be the time for Hawker Football Centre as well now. All right. I'm going to go with the Belco one. Michael's going to the Belco one as well. I just think Belco showed something on the weekend. They didn't have Michaela Thornton. They showed what they can do without her as well. Backhouse scored quite a bit. Ewan scored quite a bit. They're all seeming to find their groove. Or not to say that they haven't, but, you know, they seem to be, whenever there's questions asked, they seem to find it within themselves, as we saw against Gungahlin United in the last minute as well. So there's still more elements, I think, to see of this Belco team. How about you, Jeremy?
Same. I think Belconnen will get that game. They're finding their groove. They're finding their strength collectively. They're figuring out everyone's strength and weaknesses and how they can help each other as a team to get better. And they're scoring goals again when it matters, which is such an important touch. On corners, they're deadly, and something that they have on CUA is definitely size. So, you know, bar an extraordinary game from Chloe Lincoln, I think it's going to be hard for the academy to restrain or even stop this Belconnen Armada.
Thank you very much, as always, Jeremy, for coming on the show. I'll see you midweek, maybe, for the game if it goes ahead. But any last words before you head off?
No, thanks for having me. Yeah, midweek, 7 p.m. kickoff at Gungahlin Enclosed Oval 2. So the far pitch at Gungahlin enclosed oval. And yeah, we're working out with Bar TV right now and with Brendan how to make sure that this game can be broadcasted and how to make sure that we can call it. And if we do call it, it looks like we're going to be very close to the players and the coach. So Diego, Nick, forgive us in advance for everything we're going to say during the game. And see everyone on Wednesday. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. MPL2 here. Paul Townsley joining me once again. Let's get straight into the action, Paul. All right, let's start with the first match on Saturday. Queanbeyan City 2, Brindabella Blues 0. Kita and Felici with the goals for Queanbeyan City. Big win for the Queanbeyan side. Puts them within 5 points in ANU and 7 points of O'Connor. All three sides, though, do have a game in hand, let's not forget. And that might work in Queanbeyan's favour, but that, of course, depends on when ANU and O'Connor is played, because if ANU and O'Connor isn't played till like the end of the season or something, then it's sort of out of Queanbeyan's hands. So we'll have to wait and see in that regard. But Queanbeyan are in a position where they need to keep winning and hope that either of the top two start to drop some points in their race for promotion. Michael Kita once again backed up another strong performance like he has so far this season. And good to see new signing Daniel Felici as well, getting himself on the scoreboard. He seems to have seamlessly fit in at the fullback position there at Queanbeyan City. Another tough day at the office, though, for the Brindies. Not a lot has gone their way so far this season. It seems to be sort of a similar theme we've discussed on the show, but Queanbeyan City has been one of those fixtures that has worked well for the Brindies so far this season. And unfortunately for them, this match wasn't one of those fixtures. But what do you make of this one, Paul?
I mean, again, Brindabella were obviously difficult to beat. And I've said before, Brindabella has struggled a little bit, but they always turn up. They've battled. And they've been in games, a little bit similar to Tuggeranong. They've been in games, they've battled well, they've gone down to, late penalties, they've gone down to late goals. But again, they've got to keep turning up, and they've got to keep battling. And again, 2-0 against Queanbeyan is not a, it's not a, we know that Queanbeyan have got a lot of firepower. So, yeah, I think they've just got to keep going now and see if they can pick up one or two results moving forward.
And what about in terms of Queanbeyan? This is exactly the result they need, and we saw ANU drop a couple of points, and they would need to hope that the top two drop some points, but they need to do their bit and keep winning.
I think, in some respects, a couple of weeks ago, it probably got away from them a little bit. The top two sort of kept on winning. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about the O'Connor victory in response to the ANU draw, which has obviously made the table slightly different again in NPL2 because it's very, very tight. But bear in mind, as you said, that ANU have got O'Connor to play in a catch-up. Queanbeyan have got White Eagles. So outside that, there's going to be no gimmies moving forward. So, the top 4 or 5 are actually battling away there. And it could be any 4 of those 5 at the end of the day.
Massive result for White Eagles. Disappointing result for ANU. 2-2 draw. Booth and Al Nuwasir with the goals for White Eagles. Deans with both the goals for ANU. Massive performance for the Eagles. They always seem to step up for this matchup against ANU. From all reports, the better team in the first half had some really good chances as well, just bar the ones that they scored. ANU picked up their game in the second half, though, so Eagles sort of were forced to sit back and hit on the counter, but they made themselves hard to break down. And so, they'll be disappointed that they won't, they conceded a penalty, which led to ANU's goal. And they'll be disappointed that they didn't come away with all the 3 points, considering the performance that was put in. ANU, though, this draw means that they dropped to second place now, 2 points behind O'Connor Knights. That on their point of view, they'll be disappointed that they didn't play their best in the first half, and it took them a while to get going. And I guess overall for them, Paul, it'll be disappointing for them that they dropped 2 points. But as a coach, would you be looking at that and go, well, let's not panic. We've still got 2 matches to play, one in hand against O'Connor and last match of the season against O'Connor. So even though it's 2 points the difference, it can, if they get the results against them, it could be made up.
I think you're probably right. But I think that, again, the top 4 or 5 is actually quite tight. And I think that I think you were saying there that ANU were disappointed to drop 2 points. I think probably White Eagles were actually equally as disappointed to drop 2 points. I think that's how close the actual game was. I think the cheer that went up when they actually scored the equaliser was a very, very big relief cheer, to be honest. So I think that, I think White Eagles have got the catch-up against Queanbeyan. They've also got O'Connor to play again. And you have got O'Connor. Queanbeyan are in that mix as well. And, and at least 2 of them have got to travel to Gungahlin, I think. So I know White Eagles have. So, it's going to be tough. I think whoever comes away with it will have earned it.
Yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks. We'll dive more into that on the previews. Next up, we have O'Connor Knights, massive 8-0 victory for them. McCarran with a hat-trick, Manda, O'Rourke, Kresic, Misic, and there was also an own goal in terms of Wagga City Wanderers as well. Like I mentioned, immense performance and result for O'Connor Knights, especially with all that's at stake in this title race. Well, what seems like the title race between them and ANU at the moment. This result means that they lead the table by 2 points over ANU. And considering the amount of goals they scored in this one, it gives them a healthy lead over them in goal difference, in the goal difference department, which for O'Connor Knights, I'm pretty sure they were always trailing to ANU on goal difference, or at least for the last month or so that they've been neck and neck anyway. McCarran, once again, adding more to his tally. This puts him now in double digits, 11 goals for the season. All in all, massive win for O'Connor Knights in the race for promotion. But like I'm sure you're going to mention, Paul, I'm sure they won't be getting ahead of themselves in that regard. They still know there's quite a lot to play for, but very positive win for them nonetheless. Difficult away match for Wagga against sort of a steam train of an opponent right now. O'Connor Knights look like an absolutely unstoppable force at the moment. Of course, anything can happen on any day, but they really seem in form at the moment. But in terms of Wagga City Wanderers, they've seen these results have happened to them before, but when they have, they've credit to them, they've dealt with it. They've gone back, they've tried to change something, and then they'll come away with a win like they did against the Brindis or something like that. And they are 6th on the ladder, let's not forget. So they've taken these sort of losses and they've sort of morphed them into results that results that they would like to see in that regard. What do you think about this result?
I think Mira obviously got them revved up after the result on the Saturday between ANU and White Eagles, which gave them the opportunity to actually open some light. And it's the first real light that's been available to any of the teams, really, especially since that sort of middle part. Everybody's been a little bit tight, especially ANU and O'Connor have been trading punches and separated by goal difference. And whether you play on the Saturday or the Sunday, I think. So I think that both teams, they responded. Dave McCarran, he's scoring goals, and that's it's probably the only second blowout really in NPL2 this year, really.
That's been too many.
On the back of Queanbeyan beating White Eagles, and then obviously this one. So. as I say, it's I think Miro will be smiling at the moment, and I think he'll keep them grounded with a view to because they've got some tough fixtures coming up, and again, it's probably in their hands now.
It's always good when fate's in your hands. Just ask Tigers FC in that regard. And the last matchup was Gungahlin against Western Molonglo. It was a 3-0 victory for Gungahlin because Western Molonglo forfeited that one. All right, on to the round 16 previews. Let's start with Western Molonglo, Queanbeyan City, Saturday, July 31st, 2:15 p.m. at Woden Park Enclosed. Michael says Queanbeyan for this one. I'm going to say Queanbeyan as well. I keep referring to the match I first saw. I know it was the start of the season, but that's when Queanbeyan looked absolutely unstoppable against Western Molonglo. And their second one, they didn't fare as well also. But Western Molonglo just, of all the matches they seem to play against the big ones, they seem to match up better against the likes of an O'Connor Knights or even an ANU. But against the Queanbeyan City, it seems to be like Belco against Wagga City Wanderers and NPLW. It just recently they haven't been able to match up well in that regard. What do you think about this one, Paul?
Yeah, I think it's a tough ask for Western. I mean, obviously, probably most of the players will be well rested after a week off, but I still think Queanbeyan will have far too much firepower for them at the weekend. And it's a must-win game for Queanbeyan. If any slip up now for Queanbeyan sort of puts them in a tricky situation, they're then relying on everybody else. Then they've got to win this in order to rely on themselves to be in that mix.
And if they do, it's sort of a new lease of life for them in the title race, which will be important for them because that there's no the ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's definitely their goal this season to get promoted, as it is for a lot of the top clubs in NPL2. Next up, we got Brindabella Blues, Canberra White Eagles, Saturday, July 31st, 3:15 p.m. ANU South Oval. Michael says ANU for this one. Michael says Eagles for this one. I'm going to agree and say White Eagles as well. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction on this one, Paul. I'm just going to ask you what you think, how you think this one might play out. Like you said, Brindies are always a tough task and pretty close matches from what I remember in these last two fixtures with the Brindies. Like even one of the matches where White Eagles won, like was it 5-2 or something?
5-3, I think. 5-3.
5-3.
Yeah,
there was
5-3.
There was a few circumstances that led to that as well. So Brindies usually always sharp for this fixture.
Yeah, I mean, we hopefully we've got a full squad to pick from for probably the first time in 4 or 5 weeks this weekend. So we're hoping that the Melrose Synthetic will suit us and suit the style of football that we play. So hopefully, fingers crossed we've got too much firepower. But again, Brindies have given us, the results don't always sort of show, how close games are sometimes. But we've had the run this season. But, again, it's a must-win game for White Eagles. They've got to take the 3 points. Nothing else will do.
And next up, we've got ANU Wagga City Wanderers, Saturday, 31st of July, 3:15 p.m. at ANU South Oval. And I meant to say Melrose Synthetic. Now I just realized what I got wrong in the other one. Sorry. So scratch that again. Brindabella Blues, White Eagles, Saturday, July 31st, 3 p.m. Melrose Synthetic.
Yeah.
And then we've got ANU Wagga City Wanderers, Saturday, 31st of July, 3:15 p.m. at ANU South Oval. And I mentioned before how ANU won't be sort of hitting the panic button yet because they've still got 2 matches in hand against O'Connor Knights, but they can't afford to slip up in this one either in that regard, especially if they want to sort of keep the momentum in, or not momentum in their hands, but keep some sort of fate in their hands as they can take the point. Well, they have the opportunity anyway to take the points from O'Connor Knights. In saying that, though, I think they'll have probably just a little too much for Wagga City Wanderers, but I'm sure Wagga City Wanderers will put up a fight. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think they've got to bounce back after, the 8-0 that they've just stood suffered. I think that if they set up, I think it's a really difficult one for Wagga. You know, like it's one of those situations. Do you set up to counter and then risk conceding because you're actually giving the opposition the ball, or do you actually do what you're good at, which is probably sit back, counter really, really quickly, and see if you can actually get a couple. You know, that seems to be where most teams have penetrated ANU. You know, over the last few weeks, is that sort of breaking very, very quickly, moving the ball very fast, and probably Wagga, you know, are able to do that because they've got some pace up front. But ANU are, you know, they're a well-grounded team. You know, they play good football. They keep the possession very, very well, and they keep coming at you. I think that's the thing. You know, and if you don't keep possession of the ball and you keep turning it over, you know, they'll create chances. So I've got to go ANU on that one.
And last up in NPL2 for this round, we've got Gungahlin against O'Connor Knights. This over in Griffith. This should be a very interesting matchup. Sunday, August 1st, 2 p.m. at Solomad Stadium. Now, we all know that O'Connor Knights, you know, at home, always probably at their strongest as well. O'Connor Knights are, like I mentioned, bit of a steam train at the moment. I think this will be a very close matchup. Very well could be some goals in it as well, but I think O'Connor Knights will just take the victory in this one. But I think it'll be close. You, Paul?
Yeah, I think Gungahlin will be relieved because I think they've got Rochi and Jacob Donado coming back after suspension this weekend, which is probably timely for them, coming up against O'Connor. You know, I mean, it's never easy going down there. It's a big field. It's a long journey. You know, the field's probably a little bit slower than some of the fields in Canberra. So it slows down your passing game a little bit. So Miro will have to set himself up to be mindful of that. You know, Gungahlin can cause surprises there. They're never easy at home. And, you know, given where they are at the moment, a few weeks ago, you probably would have actually sort of said, yeah, O'Connor. But because of where Gungahlin sit now, there'll be a very, very different energy to Gungahlin this weekend than probably there was 3 or 4 weekends ago. So, you know, they're sat in the 4 at the moment. It can bounce either way. So I think I might go for a draw, actually. I think Gungahlin will make it awkward for O'Connor. And again, I think this could be one of those tricky ones. Just to negotiate before the running.
And yeah, I think you mentioned when there was a huge sigh of relief when ANU got the equaliser against White Eagles. I think there'll be another huge sign of relief if that's the case. If it does end up being a draw, because then that'll mean that they are all equal again, and then it'll probably all come down to those 2 matches if they're both able to keep the same amount of points until then. And geez, that would be a dramatic way to end the season. All right, that's us done and dust for NPL2. Paul Townsley, thank you very much. Glad to have you on as always.
Thank you.
Any last words like you know, how great were Italy at the Euros or anything like that, or the Olympics, anything like that, or
probably not actually.
Waiting here at the Olympics.
You've been really waiting for that one, haven't you? You know, I say you've been waiting for that one, but yeah. Congratulations to Italy. It was very painful, and yet again very sad. However, bring on the World Cup.
And it's not as long as you have to wait till like usual is in that regard, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's only 12 hours away. So pending COVID, we could actually get over.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, let's hope the COVID restrictions, at least to certain parts of the world, is okay by then. And more importantly, let's hope it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to get back if that's the case, because then I would definitely advise people not to go because it'd be cheap to get there, but to get back.
Yeah.
So let's hope something's worked out.
Might not let me back in. So
they might not let you out of Qatar, Paul.
That's very true, yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you very
All right,
much, everybody. That's
Thank you very
episode
much indeed.
38 of the Canberra Football Show. Paul Townsley with me. Thank you as always. And everybody, enjoy the football. Hopefully it's not a rainy weekend.